Greetings one and all, welcome to Wai-O-Tapu. My name's Craig and it's my pleasure this morning to talk about geysers and Lady Knox in particular. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. Most of you, after seeing our lovely lady play this morning, will be driving back to the visitor centre. Please be aware it is a very narrow road and we do experience two-way traffic, so drive reasonably slow. When you enter into the park itself, be aware that it is an active volcanic area, so please have your children close to you at all times, stay on the formed pathways and do not jump over fences. Jumping over fences could mean you're on tonight's menu card. The other thing is, it has been raining overnight, so parts of the park will be slippery underneath your feet. I do recommend closed footwear as opposed to flip-flops and jandals. Well, geysers are a reasonably rare phenomena. They're only found in a few pockets around the world, and New Zealand is one of those areas. In fact, here in New Zealand, 100 years ago, we had over 130 active geysers. Due to natural reasons and man's mismanagement, in this day and age, we have about 15 active geysers, and Lady Knox is one of them. In fact, before she was discovered by man, she looked a lot different than what you see here today. If you look behind me here, you can see a cinder lip with a dead tree growing from the rocks. That's pretty much how the geyser used to look like. And if you look around this area here, you'll see a whole lot of other cinder formations, which suggest this is an old geyser field. But at the moment, the only active remaining geyser here is Lady Knox. How she was discovered is a story in itself. We need to rewind the clock back some 100 years ago, when New Zealand was unfortunate enough to have its very first open prison. That open prison was situated just behind where your cars are parked today, and those prisoners, their labour was put to good use. One of their jobs was clearing the scrub-like plant around us, this manuka and kanuka. They did this in order to make way for the planting of these pine trees you see behind me here. For a short time after the prisoners planted these pine trees, this was become the world's largest man-made forest, the Kaingaroa forest. So you can imagine, after a hard day of clearing scrub and planting pine trees, our prisoners got rather dirty. And facilities for these prisoners 100 years ago, things were very basic, and it was a very laborious task after a hard day's work to wash themselves and their clothes. But being typical Kiwis, these prisoners were rather innovative. They knew about this clearing here with this hot spring. One day a group of prisoners wandered down here armed with carbolic soap and scrubbing brushes. The prisoners stripped off their clothes and started to wash them in the mouth of the geyser. They'd drop them in, pull them out, soak them up and drop them back in again. The next thing that happened for them was they got a heck of a fright. Their clothes ended up going skyward and they ended up running into the bushes behind me here. Over time, we've worked out the catalyst the prisoners created some 100 years ago. What they actually did was break surface tension by using carbolic soap. In this day and age, we're very aware of the environment. So what I have in this bag here is an environmentally friendly surfactant, which has no ill effects on the environment. I'll add it to the geyser soon, but first I'm going to explain what's happening underneath the ground. All geysers work on a similar principle. Beneath us here is a reservoir. This particular reservoir contains approximately 27,000 litres of superheated water. Due to natural reasons, this reservoir has created a natural restriction, so we actually have two chambers of water. The deepest seated chamber of water has water in excess of 150 degrees Celsius, while the water on the upper levels, directly beneath my feet, the water does not exceed boiling point. So that water on top is a little bit cooler and is more dense. So it's acting like a lid or a blanket, allowing our superheated water underneath to circulate underneath and not rupture the surface. Now by me dropping the surfactant into the mouth of the geyser, that surfactant is then going to disperse itself along the upper levels of the chamber. And what it is going to do to that water is quite literally break surface tension or soften the water, which then allows our superheated water underneath to expand and mix with this cooler water on top. As two extreme temperatures of water mix together, the water will flash into steam. And with that flash of steam, hopefully in a few moments' time, we should have ourselves a hydrothermal eruption. Some of you in the audience are probably thinking to yourselves at this very point in time, hey, that's no geyser, and you'd be absolutely correct. I'm the geyser, this is a geyser, and if I wasn't to touch this geyser in any shape or form, she would still naturally do her own thing. Her natural cycle is somewhere between 24 hours and 72 hours, so it'd be quite difficult for us to pinpoint the exact time of a natural eruption. So, for the last 80 years, on a 24-hour cycle, we've intervened and given Mother Nature a little bit of a helping hand. Now, Lady Knox is quite an unusual geyser. Most geysers will go into a hydrothermal flash, the water will go straight up and straight back down. Believe me, this does happen. But generally speaking, we'll have an initial eruption, which will be indicated by a bit of a rumble, and we should get heights of between 10 and 15 metres. She'll hold that for about 2 minutes and then subside, and with a bit of luck pick herself back up and play at varying heights for the next 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Now, as I said at the beginning of my talk, when this phenomenon was first discovered, she looked nothing like this. About 80 years ago, our prisoners thought they could have a little bit of fun. Entertainment was a bit few and far between 100 years ago. So what they thought they'd do was place a whole lot of rocks around the spring itself, with the intention of reducing the throat of the geyser to get more height out of her. So instead of playing at heights of just 5 metres, with the right weather conditions, she can play anything up to 21 metres high. Over the last 80 years, these rocks have been placed here. They've been covered in a mineral found in the reservoir beneath us. That mineral is silica. Now, geysers, as I said at the very beginning, are found in a number of places in the world. Obviously, New Zealand is one of those areas. The largest cluster of geysers resides in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. There is also another cluster in Iceland where the naming of geyser came. Geyser simply means to gush forth. And there's also a reasonably large cluster in eastern Russia, Kamchatka. Now, if we were to ask most New Zealanders in the audience here who Lady Constance Knox was, most of them wouldn't be able to give you an answer. She was quite irrelevant in New Zealand history. But her father wasn't. Her father was Lord Ranfurly. He was New Zealand's 15th Governor-General. In May of 1903, Lord Ranfurly and his family came to do an official opening of the Wai-O-Tapu open prison, and Lord Ranfurly officially planted the first tree in the Kaingaroa forest, while his daughter was delegated to christen the geyser. She christened it after her brother, Lord Northland, but the prisoners, not having seen a young, beautiful lady in such a long time, kept the name Lady Knox, and it stayed this way to this day. I must admit, ladies and gentlemen, she is a little bit slow to erupt today, but she's just making her way into an eruption. We should expect her to erupt in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Those of you along the front rows may get drifts of water. Do not be alarmed. That water is vaporized from 150 degrees Celsius to a nice, soapy 15 degrees Celsius. Ideal for a backpacker's shower. I've had one, so I'm going to move out of the way. Get your cameras cracking and enjoy your day. Thank you very much.